let's talk about revision. Now, if you follow my channel, then you know a lot of the concepts that I speak about were talked about by metaphysical teachers such as Joseph Murray, Napoleon Hill, Neville Goddard. These teachers were some of the best that there is, in addition to folks like Jim Rohn, Alan Watts. There's a lot of metaphysical teachers who have given us tools to really make a difference in our lives. And one of the tools that I want to talk about today is a tool that I'm not going to bullshit you. I use this tool so often. Sometimes it's hard for me in dealing with somebody to remember whether or not the event took place how they're acting like it took place, or if the event took place how I have come to remember the event. Because I do it to the point where the original event becomes fuzzy. Now, if you've never heard of a revision, what I'm saying probably makes absolutely no sense to you. So let me break it down. Revision is essentially as simple as changing a memory. Now, changing a memory, what good does that do, right? What good would that do for you? Why would you want to change a memory? You have to understand that from birth, we've been getting information poured into our heads. This information, coupled with our experiences along this information, and our experiences dealing with other people, has led to core beliefs that we have. And these core beliefs fuel our actions. When we have a dream, or when we get an upload from source that seems unreasonable based on the current state of affairs around us in this 3D world, it can be challenging for us to have faith the size of a mustard seed to take action in regards to that vision, because those core beliefs are weighing on us, telling us that we are someone that we know we're not. We know we're more than. We may have occupied a state that presented in that fashion at one point in time, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the state that we occupy in perpetuity. Revision, Neville calls it the pruning shears of revision. It's like pruning weeds. So on a day-to-day basis, what Neville, in regards to Neville, he teaches this practice as a day-to-day thing, as something that you do daily. Pruning events that took place during the day, revising them in your head, so that before you go to sleep, the event took place how you wanted it to take place. And you're not operating from the resonance of potentially the lower vibrational incident that occurred. Now, he talks about it in regards to a daily practice. But let's say you've never done revision before. You can start, by revising a day. Maybe you had an interaction with the cashier that didn't go according to plan. Maybe, you had some type of a reaction to somebody in traffic, or your boss pissed you off and you, for an hour and a half, thought a bunch of horrible thoughts at them. Whatever the case may be. You can revise those things, yes. Yes, you can revise those things. From that day, you can revise your entire day. But the magic of revision comes when we're dealing with things like real deep personal trauma. And I don't want you to take this concept of revision as a substitute for medical attention if you need that. Yes, I've used revision. Yes, revision has helped me tremendously, and we'll talk about that. But yes, I've also used the means of mental health counseling, therapy, group therapy. I've done all of them. Understand that these are all tools. And anybody who's polarized themselves to a state of giving guidance to someone on their mental health, that's a gift from God. Just like this tool of revision is a gift from God. So don't discount seeking professional help. This doesn't change the fact, though, that revision is incredibly useful in this particular circumstance. Dealing with trauma, dealing with PTSD, which I deal with. I have been diagnosed with PTSD in addition to other things. And I've used this revision that I'm talking to you about to help me, to help situations that used to cause crippling anxiety for me to not have that significant of an impact on me. Now, in practice, revision entails you going back to that moment, not being a third person bystander watching yourself in that moment. No, going into the first person in that moment, living in that moment, and allowing events to play out how you would have liked to see them play out. For me, I'll be personal. I had some real deep trauma that happened as a result of someone who didn't know who they are when I was a child, and for a long time it impacted almost all areas of my life. My confidence was shot. I thought I was a horrible person. I believed that there was no one who could love me. I believed that I needed to do certain things in order to get people to see me a certain way. And that if people didn't see me how they wanted to see me, that they would do things to try to hurt me. My experiences had me so much into a shell that it was hard for me to just get up in the morning. It was hard for me to occupy. My trauma made my experiences in the military feel like hell. And I said that correctly. My trauma before the military made my experiences in the military feel like hell because of the mental state that I occupied. So after I get out of the service and I'm dealing not only with my previous trauma, but now the trauma that has been magnified based on my experiences in the military, and I feel like I'm at a loss. I feel like I'm just not suited for life. Like there was some lesson that everyone got on how to do this thing that I just didn't get. So I started going back and revising. And at night I do it, but not just at night. I do it when a situation happened and I acted in a manner that was a representative of a previous mental state that I thought I had come out of. So a mental state reared its ugly head. And instead of allowing that weed to grow and that state to perpetuate itself, I prune it by changing that event. So let's say there's somebody who, let's say I have a fear of speaking to women because I assume that every woman is going to look at me as this ugly creature. And then I have a woman who comes up to me and initiates conversation with me. And as a result of my trauma, I act in a manner to her that's unbecoming. She just wanted to speak. Could have been nothing, could have been everything. But my trauma is causing me to act in a certain way. So what I would do is, if it happened, I'd go after the situation. When I recognize it, I'd go back to the scenario and I change it. And if I have the ability to actually interact with a person, I do it. But I wouldn't do it from that state of the event, of how the events actually took place. I do it from the state of the fixed event. So let's say the original event left me feeling broken, angry, and that I need revenge. I wouldn't go to that person and operate from that state. I'd go to that person and operate from the state of the revised event. If the revised event was me feeling uplifted, me feeling confident, courageous, feeling like I am the hero of my story, I'd approach them from that, understanding that that frequency that I'm resonating at will rub off on them, and it can pull them up into that frequency, that higher vibration that I'm operating at. Now, if an apology or something like that was required, then you go ahead and you do that. This isn't saying that because you revised something, you force everyone else to operate from that revised state. No, that's not it. You do what you need to do. If you messed up, you own that. You apologize, right? But it doesn't change the fact that this is a tool that uses the mental nature of this universe to our advantage. It's a different way of interacting with each other. Imagine everybody operating like this. Now imagine an event that happens, right? Let's go back to this female scenario, right? Because there's a lot of dudes that I know that are lacking in confidence. And it's to the point now where women may be starting to feel like, hey, maybe they need to start initiating conversations, which maybe they will, maybe they won't. But at the end of the day, let's assume that this is the scenario, right? Someone came to speak to you, and in your anger and your whatever, that state, you brush them off in a rude manner. Now, they know who they are, so they don't allow your actions to pull them into a destructive mental state. In fact, they take it a step further. That female who came up to you, who you essentially just rejected without understanding what was going on, without her knowing the causes that led to the effect of what you did, she goes home and she pulls you out of that state. Because she knows who she is. And she knows the power that's inside of her. She pulls you out of that state, right? Now you meet her again. So you go home and you revise it. She goes home, she pulls you out of it. Now you see God working, right? You meet her again. You operate from the revised experience. She operates from the revised experience. She operates from that higher vibrational point. And now you click. It's a difference when we all know who we are and we all know these tools and we're able to use the right tool at the right time. And whether or not you were the person who was on the negative side of an interaction, meaning you performed the negative activity or the activity that can be perceived as negative, or whether or not you were on the positive side of an interaction, meaning you performed the activity that can be perceived as positive. That doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not you are recognizing if outdated events, outdated beliefs, outdated information that does not define you is causing you to act in a manner that is unbecoming of who you're trying to be. Now, there's a lot of nuance when it comes to working with specific traumas in revision. There's deeper levels to this. Revision is one side of a coin. Recapitulation is another. But that's another video. I want to create a revision meditation, but I don't want to make it a really, really broad, I'll do a broad one, but I want to do specific revision meditations. I want to do trauma revision meditations. We can do relationship revision meditations. We can do debt revision meditations. You can revise any event, anything that's happened. You have the power to revise it. and you have the power to walk in the frequency of the revision of you from that revision. Now, what happens when you begin revising things from your past? I'll tell you like this. I'll put it like this. I told you that I've been diagnosed with PTSD. And I told you that I would go back and I would start revising these things. What happens is, on a deep subconscious level, there's a whole chain, a whole cascade of events that took place, of effects, that the cause of your inadequacy started, right? When you revise, it's like if there's a weed that's turned into a whole damn bush, a whole damn tree within your mind, and it's blocking your ability to picture your perfect garden. Revision is like a tool to pull that shit up. You'll be surprised when you end up in a scenario that a day before you revised it had you operating in a certain frequency. After you revise it, it doesn't even bother you. Certain things that were a trigger for you are not a trigger for negativity. In fact, when you start revising regularly and you start recognizing the benefits of it, those things that used to trigger you, they become a different sort of trigger. People love to talk about triggers for negativity. They become a trigger for positivity, and here's how. You can remember how you used to feel when a certain thing used to take place. And you know now that you no longer feel that way when a certain thing takes place. And you know specifically why you no longer feel a certain way when a certain thing takes place. So, what it is a major, major confidence boost for you. It's literally a trigger that releases power, letting you know that you can do this. And if you did this for this thing, you can do it for other things. Neville likes to say, or when he talks about this tool, he says the best time to do revision is in the SATS period. SATS, S-A-T-S, state akin to sleep. SATS is critical when you're getting started, if you want to see immediate impact. But you can do revision any time of the day. You can always take a moment to relax yourself, to just be aware now. I'm driving and I just took a moment to be aware now. You can always do a quick revision of a minor incident. That state akin to sleep. Those times when you wake up and the moments right before you go to sleep. The things that are on your mind before you go to sleep, you tend to carry into your sleep. And the things that are on your mind when you wake up tend to shape your day. So if you're revising before you go to sleep, and when you wake up, it's not necessarily revision, but you can have an image in your mind of the day. If you can use those times to reinforce a new thought pattern that you're trying to create, you will find the success that you're looking for. You will. Listen, I love you. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not saying it for views. I'm not saying I'm at this point, I know that my channel will grow, but at this point, I'm not getting many views. I'm not saying that for this. I'm saying it because a lot of times people go days, weeks, months, years without hearing another person telling them that they love them. I don't want that to be you. So I want to let you know right now, I don't have to know you. Love is not conditional. We live in a sea of unconditional love. I don't need anything from you to know that you've been through struggles, that you're trying to be better, and that things around you have beat you down, but you're still moving. I don't need to know all of the intimate details to empathize with who you're trying to be. I don't need you to be perfect for me to see the divinity, the beauty that's trying to radiate out of you. I know that it's there. And because I know that it's there, I can just recognize it. And I can tell you from a deep state of truth, I love you. This video is for you. As uncomfortable as it sometimes makes me to put myself out here like this, I'm doing this because I know it could help you. And when you're helped, who knows who you could help? I get emotional because it's so important to me that you know you are loved. You are so loved. The God in me loves you so much that my gut wouldn't let me drive without recording this video for you. I love you, and I want to see the fullest expression of you. I may not see that in this 3D through the eyes of this body that I inhabit, but I'll see it through your family. I'll see it through the fruit of your state when you finally shine your light like the radiant being that you are. I'll see it. We'll all see it. We'll feel it when you heal and you grow. This is just a spark. That's all this is. Just a spark. It's your job to set the world on fire.